So welcome everybody. Welcome to the GPUG April edition of 2023. My name is Colin DeCarlo, and I will be presenting tonight as well as hosting our evening. Tonight we're going to be talking about AI coding companions and how we can make how can we make the most of it, I think. This is really just going to be a demonstration of how we can use ChatGPT and Copilot to build applications and help us with our development. It's hopefully going to just be a fun evening of learning how to use these tools so that we can be more productive than maybe what we have been in the past. How we can use it to augment our toolkits. There we go. So let's talk about our agenda. So I'm going to do the welcome, which I just did. Then we're going to talk about our sponsors. I'm going to introduce myself as our speaker, and then we'll get on with the show. Also this evening, after we're done, we're going to hold a raffle where we will be giving away a free 1-year subscription to any JetBrains IDE. JetBrains has been a sponsor of the GPUG for a number of years now, and they provide us each month with one license that we can give away to one of our meetup members. So we decided that we would raffle those off, and we do that at Mark Raffalo. There will be a link in the slides, and then I'll post a link into the chat so that you can go and sign up for that, so you have a chance to win tonight. Again, that's any JetBrains IDE. So that is, PHP Storm or WebStorm or CLion or RubyMine or DataGrip or whatever. Okay. So welcome. Let's get going. About our sponsors. So first I want to say thank you to Vehicle. Vehicle has been a longtime sponsor of the GPUG. When we meet in person, they provide us with the location, the food, the drinks, that sort of thing. So thank you very much to Vehicle for allowing me to take the time to organize the GPUG and manage it. So thank you very much. 3 years ago, when we started with the pandemic, we moved the GPUG online. Without Givelify, we wouldn't be able to have the experience that we have tonight meeting online. So thank you very much, Givelify, for your continued support. All right, this is me. So I'm going to be our speaker tonight. I'm a developer at Vehicle. I've spoken at the GPUG a number of times. I also organized the GPUG, and I could already be a robot. Maybe we all are. So simulation theory and whatnot. And so it's yeah, I'm super excited. I felt like I was getting a little bit late into AI. I started maybe a few weeks ago working with ChatGPT and Copilot, and just completely blown away by the possibilities and thinking about all sorts of wonderful things. So I hope to share that with you tonight. All right, so let's go. All right, so let's start. So I'm going to set this up so that I got to stop my share, and I'm going to just share my whole screen here now. So let me just, I think this is going to be the easiest thing for sharing. All right, so here's ChatGPT. All right, I'm going to minimize. I don't know what to do with that. All right. So ChatGPT, if you haven't used it yet, it's a large language model, which stands for something. And it's just a really impressive program, I guess. It's an artificial intelligence, and you can ask it any kind of questions, and it will do its best to give you an answer. One of the things that I've learned about this type of AI is it's really incentivized to give you an answer that you're going to like, right? It gets positive reinforcement. And so it's very common for it to stretch the truth, we'll say, at times if it doesn't know what to say. And so if you're asking it about facts and things like that, it's still very important to be critical about the information that you get. I can zoom in. Here, let me just make this full screen. Maybe that'll help. I don't know if this is being shown here. and then I'll close. All right. So this is ChatGPT here, and so it will definitely lie to you. One of the things that I do every morning with my company is I present a historical fact about what happened on this date in history. And I very, very often have to fact check everything that it tells me. And very often it's actually quite wrong. It's really interesting. Like I would have thought that it would be really good at knowing what's happened in the past. But no. So one thing I have found that it's very good at, though, is programming and understanding programs and doing those sorts of things. So that's what we're going to be using it tonight. But you can use it for anything. Again, like I was saying, I tried to teach it to play Wordle. That went pretty well. I asked it to write a book review in a certain tone, those sorts of things. The way that you interact with the AI is through something called prompts. And so a prompt is just a message that you give it. And there's a lot of different ways that you can style your prompts that are going to help the AI give you a better answer. So one of the things that a website that I learned about from work is this learnprompting.org. And it's been a really good resource to me to learn about what are different types of prompts that I can provide. How do I write a good prompt, those sorts of things. If you're into this sort of thing, you haven't heard of this website, I would definitely recommend going there. So that's learnprompting.org. I'll just put it in the chat here. And it'll tell you like what is a good prompt to be writing. And so like there's some of the things that you can do. I just want to go into the basics here and talk about role prompting, which is one of the things that we're going to be doing with our prompt tonight. Role prompting is you kind of tell the AI who it's supposed to be, right? So this example here, it says, you're a brilliant mathematician who can solve a problem in any problem in the world. Attempt to solve the following problem and give it whatever it is and it'll do it. And because you like give it this context that, hey, you're a really good mathematician, apparently for some reason that puts it in the right kind of zone context that it'll give you more reasonable answers, more correct answers. There is another type of prompting that we might get into if we need to, and that's called shot prompting. And shot prompting is a way of saying, hey, we're going to do this, and here's a few examples of what I'm expecting. So you can say, this one here that you can see down here, this is like, it's wanting to say, given this specific rating, is that a positive or a negative rating? And so you give it a few examples in a specific form. For instance, it was a great product, 10 out of 10. That's a positive ranking. It didn't work very well. That's a negative rating. Super helpful, worth it, positive. And so when it sees this, it doesn't work, it can kind of put that in together and say, oh, that's a negative rating. If you were to just put, it doesn't work, like, let's try that. I'm just going to put down in here, it doesn't work. And it's like, I don't know what you're talking about, right? However, if we say, great service would return and positive, and then we say, oh my, what a waste, negative, and then best ever, positive. Let's see what it gives us this time when we say, oops, positive, when we say it doesn't work. Now you'll notice that I'm being very careful about how I'm formatting this. So we have, this is the review, colon, this is how it should be received. Review, colon, how it should be received. So now if we type this, what's it going to give us? Negative. So if by giving it like these examples, it kind of puts it in the zone to say, okay, I understand what's going on here. I'm supposed to like interpret and what the message is and give it a positive or a negative rating. I can show you an example from the 5-letter word guessing game that I've done. So I'm just going to zoom all the way back up here. This is the prompt that I wrote for it. I said, hey, I want to play a word guessing game. It's 5 letters. These are the words that I'm going to be selecting from. You get 6 guesses. This is how I'm going to be providing feedback. This is what each item of the feedback looks like. And here's an example. So this is kind of like putting it in the zone of understanding, explaining to it what it's going to do. And these are our examples. And then the feedback and whatnot. And then I explained, I said, hey, do you know? It says, yes, I do. Let's play. All right. And it starts playing. And it did a fairly good job at this, though I did have to remind it a few times of like what the rules are and whatnot. And that has something to do with something called a window of context. So I guess it can hold in its memory, we'll call it, a certain number of previous prompts. And like, so sometimes it's important to remind it, oh, wait a minute, no, you're an expert software developer. Are you sure you want me to do this? Those sorts of things. And I expect those to get better as things improve. So yeah, that's kind of how you interact with the model. We could ask it any number of things. One thing to understand about ChatGPT is it was trained on information all the way up to, I believe, September 2021. So one of the things that you'll find is that if you're asking questions about software and whatnot, it can really only give you information up to September 2021. Like if we talk about a PHP framework, we're not going to get Laravel 10 because Laravel 10 is newer than September 2021. We might get Laravel 8 or something along those lines, information regarding that. Though there is other ways of getting around that. This is a really helpful search engine that you can also prompt as well. And this, I believe, has uses the internet and so you can ask it something like, this is the error that I'm receiving. It's like Stack Overflow on like just better. You say, this is the error that I'm receiving, and it'll read it, and then it will run it through and give you, okay, this is what I think's happening and whatnot, but it will also cite its sources. Hopefully we get to use this tonight, because I can't really think of anything to send to it right now. But if we run into a problem developing our guestbook application, maybe we can use it then. I also found this website just tonight, which is like, hey, 100+ coding prompts for ChatGPT to put it in the right state of mind. And maybe we'll get to use some of these, like generating code completion, bug detection, those sorts of things. So I'm going to do a lot of heavy lifting with ChatGPT tonight, but there's also a tool that we're going to be using inside my JetBrains editor called Copilot, which was by GitHub Copilot. And Copilot is trained on a whole bunch of code that I guess GitHub has access to. I guess that's a place where you put code, and it will give you suggestions on the types of what you can write as your code. It gets context from what you're writing and then says, oh, you're probably wanting to do something like this. This is super helpful, I've found, and so it gives you amazing context, and it's been really, really helpful to me. I wish I was doing a better job of explaining it. But we'll see it in action tonight when we're writing our code. Okay. Well, that was 20 minutes or 15 minutes at least of intro. Let's just jump into it. Okay. I want this to be tonight a really interactive experience. So if you want to talk on your microphone, don't worry about interrupting me if you think you've got something to add, or drop something in the chat, and I'll be monitoring the chat tonight as well. And let's have some fun tonight. This is all about learning about this together and saying, oh, what would happen if we do this? Or what would happen if we do that? Because I do think that we're going to get a guestbook application in pretty short order, which is, I hope, pretty remarkable, or which would be pretty remarkable. So there's that. All right, so let's make a new chat. What we're going to be doing tonight, like I've said, and I'm not sure if I've gone into it in detail, is we're going to be building an old school guestbook application. We tried doing this last month at the GPUG in person in groups, where each group would choose a PHP framework and then build the guestbook application inside of it. And people had various success with that, right? Some people got the whole thing done. Other people had difficulty getting the framework installed, like various things. And so tonight, the opportunity goes over to the AI and say, how can you do with this? And we're going to find out. So I have started the prompt here that I want to send to it, and we'll read it together once I pop it into here. All right, so you know what? Let's do this one at a time. All right, you are an expert web developer specializing in PHP. You have deep knowledge of JavaScript and are capable of handling DevOps-related tasks. You have a special interest in Docker. You also have expert knowledge in relational databases. I've heard a lot about PHP frameworks and how they make developing web applications easy. I'd like to use a popular PHP framework to develop this app. So that's our prompt, that's our role prompt that we're going to be giving it to put it in the mindset of, okay, I'm an expert web developer. I know what I'm doing. So,
hey, Colin,
and yep.
Just as an experiment here, how about, I noticed that you're using GPT-4. What if we open a second chat after you submit this and go back to 3? See
Sure.
what kind of answers we get.
Yeah, we can do that. So I'm using GPT-4, which is a paid option. So I pay like $20 US a month or something like that to it. Best money I've spent so far, and that gets me access to GPT-4, which is better at reasoning, slower, and really concise. The default is GPT 3.5, which is available to everybody. Not as good at reasoning, not good as conciseness, but super fast. So yeah, let's try that. Let's see what we get from it, okay? Let's jump into GPT-4 and go back to our prompt. I also wanted to say, I use a Mac computer and have a recent version of PHP already installed. So I did cheat a little bit, and I did run this once before, and it was like, all right, you got to install PHP and all those sorts of things. And I'm like, okay, I just want to cut through to that. I don't really want to deal with that tonight. This is effectively the ask that I'm going for. So I'm saying I want to develop an old school guestbook application with PHP. Note, I'm being pretty informal here. Old school, right? What does that mean? In my guestbook, I'd like to have a simple form where visitors can enter their name, email address, and a comment. I would like all the previous messages that people have left to appear below the form in reverse chronological order. I'd like the listings of messages to include the visitor's name and their message, but not show their email addresses. I'd like to store all this information in a database. All right. And then the last thing is I say, okay, now you've got the information. What are the steps that I need to take to build my application? So that's the question. I've given it all of the information that I want. I've said, you're an excellent web developer. This is what I want to do. Help me do this. And let's send that off. And before we do that, let's just copy this so that we can use it in GPT 3.5. So I'll let that think, and then I'll start this GPT 3.5 with the same message. All right. So you can see how fast this one is going. This one just stopped for some reason. All right, there we go. Oh, these steps. I think that maybe by switching over to the new chat, I think maybe I broke it. I'm gonna, this is the one, I'm gonna stop this. I think we'll start over with GPT-4, putting in the prompt. All right, so it's thinking, here we go. So let's follow the GPT-4 instructions because better. And let's see what we get. All right. Yeah, we're using SQLite. I would have done the same thing. All right.
So I have a question. Not used ChatGPT or any AI really. Why is it like slowly generating the answer instead of just like spitting it all out?
So
Like, doesn't it know what it's going to do yet, or is it kind of figuring it out as it goes?
I think that's it. The way that I had somebody describe it to me before, now I'm not an expert at all at this, but the way that I've had it explained to me is that what it does is effectively it says, okay, this is the word, like this is what I've been asked to do. This is where I'm starting with this word, right? Or this character or whatever. And then it says, okay, what's the most likely thing that I should do next? And then it goes to that. And then it says, okay, now what's the most likely thing that I should do to that? And then it goes to that. That's the way that I've had it described to me. It could be that it's just trying to be cute and says, oh, it looks like somebody's typing. I don't know. If anybody else knows that, let me know.
I've seen other APIs when you make a direct call to the API it just gives you the full answer just like that. So I think it's just the website, like you said, trying to be cute. And the fact that it just cuts off like this as well is kind of like, it's almost like a timeout.
Yeah.
Also the number of tokens that are being sent to you. Yeah.
So so when this happens, what I do is I tell it to say, continue. And yeah, I do believe that's something like a token limit. So I just say, just keep going and it will keep generating the guest book.
It's interesting that you said it loves to use Docker, right? Like when you're defining the role, you said you're a developer that have a strong preference for Docker.
Mm-hmm.
And like Laravel sale was around since when, like the end of 2020 or something like that. I was just wondering, like it didn't use Docker on the setup, right? It created like a SQLite file. Is that a thing that we were expecting, or is it using Docker somewhere?
I'm not sure. Like I threw in I did throw in the Docker thing just as kind of like, oh look, it's getting itself confused. I threw in the Docker thing just so like if it wanted me to install things, I wanted it to say do this with Docker, right? Just in case. And so that's what that was.
Right.
So
right.
we could probably let's get it to go with these instructions and then say, how do I run this inside Docker? And then go from there. All right, so here's what it said, ChatGPT 4. To build your guestbook application using a popular, so I'm going to move this stuff over here and then bring my terminal in here. And we'll go from there. All right. All right. I'd recommend using Laravel. It's widely known, well documented, and has great community. Aw, thanks. Here's a step-by-step guide to building your application. First, install Laravel using Composer, the PHP dependency manager. Open your terminal and run Composer Global Require Laravel installer. Now, I do have this already, but let's just do it anyways. It's not going to kill, and it's not going to be bad. All right, there we go. So that's been installed. And then it says, next, create a new Laravel project by running Laravel new guestbook. All right. Now, what's interesting is we're going to get Laravel 10, and this is probably thinking Laravel like 8 or something like that. There hasn't been many breaking. Can you guys see the chat window over top of my terminal right now?
Like
That looks fine to me.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, I can see the browser as well as your console. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we've created our application. This will create a new directory called guestbook with the Laravel framework installed. So let's go into the guestbook. So we're going to copy that. The goal is no typing tonight as well. So we're in the guestbook app, except for prompts. Install the front-end dependencies. Laravel uses npm to manage front-end dependencies. Run the following commands to install the required packages: npm install and npm run dev. All right, I wonder what version of npm I'm using. Oh boy. All right, so now it says configure the database. Laravel supports various databases, including MySQL, SQLite, and Postgres. For this example, let's use SQLite. Create a new SQLite file in the project's database directory. All right, so we're at this point here where I'm going to have to create a new terminal. cd code GPUG guestbook. All right. And what we're going to do is we're going to touch database.sqlite. All right. And then it says update the .env. So this is now we're going to jump into using PHP Storm. So pstorm dot, once we have to start editing code. And I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. I do remember there is, I don't want to jump into presenter view, I don't think. But there is a way of increasing like the interface size. So just one second, let me bring up my preferences. Increase key map, increase font size, active editor, increase font size in all editors. Shift command dot. Let's try that. No, control shift dot. Yeah. All right, control shift dot. Control shift dot. Nope, not that. It was caret shift dot, right? Anyways, all right. I just want to make this bigger. Maybe I'll go into presentation mode. Enter presentation mode. Oh, that's not what I want. Exit presentation mode. All right. Can you read this? Is this something that you guys can read already, or do you want me to make it bigger?
Looks fine to me.
I think it should be okay.
Same.
Okay, good. So bigger, says Paul. All right. Let me just, I know how to do this. So if we go to editor, I just type font. Editor, general font. Size 16. Let's go to 20 maybe. Enable ligatures, apply, okay. All right, how's that? Sorry, Paul. All right, better. All right, so we're gonna open up our M file, and this says to change the database connection and then absolute path to your project database.sqlite. So I'm gonna copy that, and I'm gonna find my DB connection, and I'm gonna pop that in there. And then DB database, so we've got that down here, so I'm just going to get rid of that. And then absolute path to your project database.sqlite file. So I'm going to open up my terminal, and I'm going to go in here. And then I think I can copy path reference and absolute path. And then I'm just going to pop that in here and go from there.
It wasn't very specific about where to find the .env file. Like you kind of seem like
you're
you already
right.
know that.
You are right. Let's remember where we are, and let's say, where is the .env file? All right, so we're gonna
It did say at the project root though. If you say,
did it?
Yeah, where it's telling you to edit the env.
File in your project root to reflect the database. Yeah, okay, he's okay. All right.
Okay.
All right. So now that we've got that, is we're going to create the guest model and migration. Run the following command to create a new model called guest and a migration file for the guest table. All right. So this is something that needs to be run at the command prompt. So I'm going to pop it up in here. PHP artisan make model guest migration. So yeah, that's right. So it created app models guest.php and the migration was created. Okay. Now what does it say? It says edit the migration file. Open the newly created migration file in database migrations. Add the necessary fields for the guest book. All right. So we're going to open up database migrations. So database migrations and then create guest table. And what it's saying to do is the public up function is what we're going to copy. All right. So already I can see there possibly being some issues with what we've got, because previously we had the return type of void, but this version, because it's older, doesn't have one. That might pose a problem. We'll have to see. But here we've got an ID, a string called name, a string called email, text, which is our comment, and our timestamps going into a table called guests. All right. Now it wants us to run the migration. So let's see what happens. Let's see if we can do this. PHP. Oh, wait, I'm typing. Silly me. I'm going to copy our code and then pop that in there. And everything worked. Perfect. If we want, we can see that. I'm just going to add an SQLite database. And then the identifier, this is just guestbook. And we exist at code, GPUG, guestbook, dangerous. Databases, database.sqlite. All right. And oh, we need to download the missing drivers. All right, test the connection. We're good. Okay. Again, we're at the end of the night, we're going to be giving away a free license for a year to any JetBrains IDE, which includes all of these wonderful tools that you've got. Did I type? Oh, I'm sorry. But here we go. So guests, we got a guest table, which has all of the stuff in there. So everything seems to be working out fairly well. All right, now back to this. Create a guestbook controller. Generate a new controller to handle guestbook related actions. PHP artisan make controller guestbook controller. All right, so I made the controller. And it says update the guestbook controller. Open the app HTTP controllers guestbook controller.php file and add the two methods index to display the guestbook and store to save a new entry. This is bonkers. All right, so guestbook controller.php. Guestbook controller. And so this is empty and it wants us to put in these two methods. So it says add the two methods. All right, so I guess what it is, this is interesting as well. This is something that's going to require a little bit of understanding of how PHP works. Like, where do I put these methods? What do you mean, right? So I think, we would put it there, of course, and then public function store. Let's take a look at this code as well. I do know that we have a few people here that are familiar with Laravel. So our index method, I'm going to import this. Our index method is going to run when we hit the base route. And what we do is we say guest latest, which is going to do that reverse order by created at, and then get. And so that's going to get all of the guests information. And then we're going to pass that into the guestbook.index view as the guests array. So that looks correct to me. And then public function store accepts a standard request and then creates a validator for it saying that the name is required, the email is required, it has to be an email, and the comment is also required. Then it's going to create a guest with that validated information and then redirect us to the guestbook index page. So this all looks legitimate to me, especially for handling a post request. We're going to finish off with a redirect so that people can't, refresh that page and keep sending that information. So this all looks good to me. I'm not getting any errors from my IDE saying that there's any problems, though these don't exist anymore at this point. I think that is unknown view. So, and now it says create the guestbook view. Create a new Blade template file in resources views called guestbook.blade.php. In this file, add the necessary HTML and Blade syntax to display the form and the list of messages. All right, so let's go from there. So it says in resources views, we're going to create guestbook blade.php. So resources views, we're going to create a new PHP file, guestbook.blade.php. All right, and then let's copy this and then copy this code. Oh, look at this. Oh, it messed up, eh? We got these ticks and whatnot. What do you think, team? Should we leave these errors and then say, hey, what's the problem? or should we fix them?
Go back to that editor or the ChatGPT.
Mm-hmm.
Scroll up just a bit. So it cut off at the head and then didn't include. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Maybe it tried proceeding after the /head. It was out of tokens for that particular chat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, typically, well, you'd end up having a scroll just one line, whatever that top line is. You'd have to close a tag on that, perhaps. Like what's
Yeah.
on line 2 you have in here?
On line 2 is
HTML, yeah. So then, yeah, you missed by a character, basically.
Mm-hmm. So Paul says, leave them. If I know nothing about Laravel, then ChatGPT will help me fix all my errors. Let's see where we get to. Let's see where we get to then. I'm for leaving it for sure. So it looks pretty good though. The form is going to be an action to the guestbook store route with a method of post. We have our CSRF protection here, a label and an input for name, a label and an input for the email with the appropriate type, a label for our comment, and a text area then for our comment. Ooh, a break, interesting. Yep. And then a submit button. Then a horizontal rule, which is, and then our previous messages, which is an unordered list for each guest as guest. We have the guest name followed by their comment. And then some of these weird backtick characters. We'll have to see what happens there. All right. And then update web routes. Open the routes web.php file and add the following routes to associate the controller methods with the URL endpoints. One of the things that I do really like about this is like, it is very descriptive about what's happening. One of the things that I have found about working with this is like it does a really good job of like just speaking naturally to me in a tone that I can understand. So we're going to copy. I'm gonna copy it. Let's see where we get to. All right. The editor says, "What are you doing?" But we'll get there.
It's interesting. So that text box is labeled CSS in ChatGPT. It thinks it's CSS code.
Yeah. So I
And then output
definitely
PHP.
think that like running, I think it definitely got itself confused in its output. You know what I mean? Like, is this you know, as a software developer, is this a problem with the language model, or is this a problem?
It's probably because the previous one got cut off.
Yeah.
So where it got as far as the head, it ran out of tokens, and then that's when it would have then included the finish the head, and then whatever else would have been there. But it would then have had 3 ticks for closing that block.
Mm-hmm.
And so what it's done is it's not added them. So it still thinks that it's in a HTML block.
Yeah.
I think something like that anyway.
All right.
The syntax highlight that it's selecting is all over the place, because if you take a look at the very first command, the composer global require,
Yeah.
it thought it was doing JavaScript. Like, so it seems like it's just picking random syntax highlights.
Arduino.
Yeah, exactly. So it's
A lot of Arduino in here. So, I mean, if you ever get interested in doing that sort of stuff, you know, ChatGPT can help you out. All right. So we're at this point here where, I mean, I like to think that I know Laravel fairly well and PHP programming fairly well. If the model itself didn't get itself confused and whatnot, I do believe that this would have worked right out of the box. Our route says route get to guestbook. We're going to use the guestbook controller class, the index action. We're going to call that guestbook index. Then it says the route posting to guestbook is going to give us the guestbook controller storing, and that's going to be guestbook store. That's all right as well. The next thing it wants us to do is run PHP artisan serve. So I'm just going to copy this and let's see what happens. And this is when things are going to get interesting, I think. So here we go. Oh, we got an error. We got an error. All right. So it says unexpected syntax. Okay, syntax error, unexpected token backtick. All right. So what I do is I say, I'm going to copy this. I'm going to put it down here and I'm going to say, when I ran PHP artisan serve, I got this error. Oh God, how soon did we go off the rails? What time is it? 7:49. All right.
When I'm doing my coding, I go down so many rabbit holes with this.
All right, so it says this error might have caused by mismatched or missing characters such as quotes or braces. To identify and resolve the issue, please follow these steps. Review your code. Carefully examine the code in your project, particularly guestbook controller PHP, guestbook blade, and web.php. Make sure there are no missing or mismatched characters such as quotes, braces, or parentheses. Check typos. Make sure there are no typos or incorrect variable names in your code. Clear the cache. Sometimes cache configuration files may cause issues. How many times have we been burned by this? Clear the Laravel cache using the following commands. Restart the server. Stop the Laravel development server. If it's still running, press Control-C, and then run PHP artisan serve. If you still encounter this error, please provide more information such as file name and line number where the errors occur so that I can help you better.
Yeah, the error message was showing the file name, right?
I didn't. I said parse error, syntax unexpected token.
I guess like the next line was mentioning the file name.
So should we jump to that, or should we try and do what it suggested?
Can you just give it the code back and say, what's wrong with this code?
Let's try that. So let's copy this whole thing and we'll say, my editor is saying there is a problem with this file. And then I like to put things in these like code thing. Oh. Let's see if, oh no. Because the problem is the fences. All right, let's see what happens.
Oh, are those a special character for ChatGPT or?
So these 3 backtick characters is like a markdown sort of like syntax where it says like, think of this as monospaced like pre-formatted code, basically. And so I'm gonna, oh my God, let me see. All right. All right, so my editor is saying there's a problem with this file. Can you see what it is? All right. Yes, I see the issue. It appears that you have an incorrect code block with triple backticks inside your web.php file. To fix this, remove the extra backticks and ensure that the use statement and routes are placed correctly. Here's the corrected web.php file. All right, let's see what happens now. I'm going to copy this and I'm just going to replace the entire contents with that. That looks good now. So now let's try running, as it says, to run PHP artisan serve again. But we're running, we are running, okay. And it says, you should be able to access your guest book here. All right, so the other error that we ran into, remember, is that tag. Oh, view guestbook.index not found. I think that was that my problem? Guestbook.index. Did I follow the instructions correctly? Because I created.
Yes, you followed the instructions. It told you to make guestbook.blade.php.
And then view guestbook.index. Uh-oh. All right. So let's see what happens now. All right. Invalid argument exception. All right, so I'm going to copy this. Are you sure that it exists as a blade.php file? All right. I don't know if ChatGPT is going to take my development job, but I have sent the exact same numbered list to coworkers. What am I doing? Okay. Here we go.
That list where you're just like, do you have open close brackets? Do you try clearing the cache? I've sent that and copy pasted it to so many developers over the years, just like try this stuff and then always fixes it.
I'm getting this error now when I visit the page in the browser. This is actually kind of like exactly what I wanted to happen tonight. All right. My apologies for the confusion earlier. It seems like the view file name is not correct. In my previous instructions, I mentioned creating a file named guestbookblade.php. However, in the guestbook controller, the view being referenced as guestbook index. To fix this, follow these steps. Rename the file to index.blade.php. Move or rename the guestbookblade.php file in resources.view directory to a new folder called guestbook and rename it to index.blade.php. Your file structure should look like this. All right, okay. So rename the view file to index.blade.php and that into the resources views directory called guestbook. All right, so we're going to do that. So here we go. We're going to create a new directory in here. And we're going to call it guestbook. All right. And then from here, we're going to move this into here. And then we are going to rename it to index.blade.php. All right. Now it says to restart the Laravel server. Though I think it like maybe did some reloading on my own. I'm not sure. Maybe it watches now. And then run PHP artisan serve. Okay. Back to the get. Okay. Unbelievable. Okay, so there's our backticks, right? There's our backticks. Well, let's see what happens. Okay, so this works. Let's put in let's put in our name and my email. I'm going to do Colin at example.com. I'm going to make this bigger. Sorry, Paul. There we go. And made with love. With ChatGPT. I'm actually really nervous about putting that Unicode character in there, but let's see what happens. Oh, add. Oh, all right. Here we go. Mass assignment exception. All right. All right. Back to ChatGPT with a new error. I was able to fill out and submit the form, but now I've got a new error. This error occurs because Laravel protects against mass assignment vulnerabilities by default. To resolve this issue, you need to specify which attributes of the guest model can be mass assigned. Open the guest model file located at models.guest.php, add a fillable property with an array of attributes, I can't read that fast, that you want to allow mass assignment. In this case, the attributes are name, email, and comment. Here's the updated guest model. After updating the guest model, restart the server by stopping the Laravel development server. Press Ctrl+C. Now, when you submit the form, the error should no longer appear, and the guestbook entry should be saved in the database. All right, I'm going to copy the code. We're going to open up the guest. Let's see. And how close is it? I think we're going to be in a good spot here. Oh, yeah. Has factory. Can't find the factory class. Oh yeah, sorry. This is so I have an extension installed in my editor called Laravel Idea. It's a paid Laravel extension, and it gives me a lot of more insight into things. And so this one is just saying, hey, you said there's a factory class, but there actually isn't one. All right. So now let's go back, run the server again. And back to our guest book. All right, I'm going to refresh the page. Should I resend or should I, I could. I'm just going to go back. All right. So I'm going to say Colin and then Colin at example.com. Made with love. Made with love with ChatGPT. All right, moment of truth here. There it is. We did it, start to finish, sort of, in maybe like 30 minutes with a few errors that have helped us. It's not the prettiest thing. Let's see if we can fix that. Or, okay, so this is where we're at right now. We could say, hey, wait a minute, I got these like weird characters in there. Let's see, we could see if it can know how to fix that. Or we could try styling it so it looks pretty. Or we could see how well ChatGPT 3.5 does with the same problem. What should we do?
Asking it to remake it style, like with a prettier style would be nice. Like maybe we're gonna be able to just copy and paste the HTML and the CSS.
Should you paste the HTML back and say, ask if there's any problems with the HTML?
We could do that. I'm kind of with Scott on that one. I do want to get rid of those backticks. And
also there's a missing head close, right? It should find that as well, right?
Yeah. This guest book is ugly. How do I make it pretty? That's a good one. I like that. Okay, so let's fix the backticks and then make it pretty. How about that? All right, so let's go. So the idea was to say, okay, here's the index form. I'm seeing these strange characters at the end of my guest book. Is there a problem with my form? How about that? So it's working. Thanks. However, I'm seeing some strange characters at the bottom of the page. Okay, at the bottom of the page, it looks like this. And then I'm going to put backtick, backtick, backtick. This is cheating a little bit because anyways, here is the code for the file. Are there any problems with it? All right. I'm glad to hear your guest book is working now. Regarding the strange characters on the page, I noticed a small issue in your card. The closing head tag is missing the closing angle bracket. Here's the correct code for the file.
Do you get better results when you use those 3 backticks when you provide ChatGPT the context?
I don't know, to be honest. So I have typically done it myself just out of habit, though we do have a team right now that's working some of our teams use ChatGPT and they use it differently. The one team that I worked with earlier this week didn't do any of that. They would just copy, they would drag from their editor and throw it in ChatGPT like animals and just paste it in, and it did fine with it. It did absolutely fine.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go to my Blade file. I'm going to copy everything, pop it in, and save it. Does it have the 3 ticks still? What happened there? Oh, no, they're gone now. Oh, that was Copilot. So for a moment there, there was the 3 backticks, but they were kind of like, they were kind of faintly in there. That was Copilot suggesting I put 3 backticks in because I had 3 backticks here before. We'll take a look at Copilot in a bit, maybe. So let's go back and see if that resolved our problem. So we're going to refresh. Oops. Refresh. Yeah, and they're gone now. Perfect. All right. So that's done.
Can you add another guestbook entry just to make sure it handles more than one.
Oh, you're right. So we're going to be Sue is from Sue at example.com and say, hi from Guelph.
Is that, try putting in an invalid email address. It hasn't checked that, right?
Sue at example. Oh, so Sue at so is that a valid email address? Because like this has type email on it. So if I did like Frank and garbage and then hello.
With the TLD is actually optional.
Oh, is it?
An email, yeah. Without it, it's an internal email address.
Oh, okay.
So it's still valid for an internal network address. It's just, it won't work like
Okay.
externally, but it is valid.
Kind of like root at localhost, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the form itself won't allow us to submit an invalid email address because it has a type of email.
Okay.
Frank at example.com. Oops. And then there we go. You know what would be nice is if we knew when these messages came in. So validation, or is it handled by Laravel? Okay, so both, Paul. So take a look at this. So the input type on this field is of type email. And so that only allows emails, valid emails to be put in there. Is that? I didn't know that you could do that. Sorry, I'm looking at the chat and there's threads in Zoom chat. That's cool. Put PHP in the comment field, Paul wants us to do. So we're going to do a little bit of hacking here. So yeah, so this will only allow us to put emails in this field. And then in the controller, we say that this also has, in our validation, we have to say this is required and it needs to be an email address. So even if we somehow was able to make a post request to this endpoint without going through the form and still managing to have the CSRF token correct, then it will still say, no, can't do it. So this is just Laravel validation. So doubly done. So put PHP in the comment field. Let's do that one more time. So I'm going to say I'm a hacker man and my email is a@b.c and I'm going to say PHP, of course, PHP info. That's not it, right? It's PHP underscore info. No, this is it, PHP info. And then that. Let's see what happens. Yeah. And so this is, again, this is just Laravel that's doing this. So in the template that we have, the messages are being spat out using like these double braces, which does automatic escaping of the information that's in there. So if we instead changed this so that instead of that, it was double bang, guest comment, that doesn't do any output escaping. And then we might see something different. So I don't know what we would see in this instance. That was bizarre.
I think you got the formatting wrong.
Oh yeah. Comment. Yeah, it's like, oh, it's showing up twice. That's because I told him. Twice. Oh, what a silly Billy. Anyhow, back to this. Okay. So yeah, so I guess the PHP doesn't matter. Now, let's we had another person say, let's try and make this look good. Okay. So let's see what we can do to make this look good.
What about just alert hello, like a very common XSS attack?
All right, one more.
Would it escape HTML?
So this is Revenge of Hackerman. And then the email again is a@b.c. And then we're going to put in a script tag that is going to say alert, hello. and then ending of our script tag. And we're going to submit that. And there it is again. So again, this is all just Laravel that's doing this.
That's nice. It's sanitizing this.
Yeah. We could even see how it's stored in the database, maybe even. So like in the database, it's like this as well. So this may have, because like it makes sense that this didn't, I think that makes sense that this didn't execute. But if we now, oops, oh God, I'm all over the place, sorry. If we now replaced the with, I wonder how I can, actually, let's put in a comment here.
Is it triple, whatever you call it, squiggles for raw output in Blade?
The comment field. See if it knows what to do. It doesn't. This was a prompt to, I wonder if I put it in HTML comment then maybe. This is a prompt to Copilot. No, it doesn't. And then, yes. This is why you shouldn't write your own code, because it just is. Let the computers do it. All right, so there we go. Now let's see what happens. Yeah, there we go. There's our XSS.
Yeah.
Can you ask Chad if there's any problem with that code?
Sure. All right. I changed the index blade file. But now I'm seeing weird behavior with with visitor comments. Is there something wrong? There you go. The issue you're experiencing is likely due to the use of the brace bang bang instead of this like double brace syntax. When displaying the visitor comments, the brace bang bang syntax and blade templates is used to output unescaped data, which means any HTML or JavaScript code within the comments will be executed. This can lead to unexpected behavior or even security issues like cross-site scripting attacks. To fix this, replace the guest comment with the two braces to ensure that any HTML or JavaScript code within the comments is escaped and rendered as plain text. Here is the corrected code for the file.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. I get it. I'll get it. I know. I'm just going to do this part. All right. And we're back. Perfect. So now, let's see what happens when, all right, we want to add some styling. So Paul, you suggested to say, the guest book is ugly. How do I make it pretty? All right. Let's see what that says. The guest book is ugly. How do I make it pretty? More visually appealing, you can use CSS to style the HTML elements. One popular CSS framework to make it easy to create beautiful responsive designs is Bootstrap. Boo! To integrate Bootstrap into your Laravel application, follow these steps. Include Bootstrap CSS and JavaScript in your layout file. Open the index. Oh, it's pulling it in from CDN too. Just before the body tag, add the Bootstrap JavaScript dependencies. All right. Come on. Apply Bootstrap classes to your HTML file for styling. Here we go. div class container my4. All right. Oh, and it's using, see, look at this. It's even, so this is, if you're familiar with Bootstrap, it's putting our form elements in divs and giving them a class of form group, which is going to apply like default Bootstrap styling for these form groups, for these form elements, and then putting button primary on there. So this is going to look, this is definitely going to look better. Oh, and it's pulling in jQuery. Oh, way to go. Actually, no, because that's just how you do it, I think, right? I think that's how Bootstrap
Yeah, I
works.
think Bootstrap requires jQuery.
All right. Customize the design further, optional. If you want to add custom styles, create a new CSS file and public, an example, public CSS custom, then include this file in the head section of your index.blade file. Okay, so let's just
Bootstrap 4 didn't need jQuery. Is it using Bootstrap 3 or 4?
I don't. Well, let's
Can you
see.
tell if you scroll to the right, which?
Yeah, Bootstrap 4.5.2. So now let's copy this and put it in our index. All right. There's Copilot again. Are you sure you don't want 3 backticks? Yes, Copilot, I'm sure. Let's give this a peek. Like, come on. Sorry. Like, that's not bad. That is not bad for free, right? So let's see what it said here. Okay, so let's see. Now you can add custom CSS styles, body, H2, and whatnot. With these changes, your guestbook should now have a more attractive design. You can further customize the appearance by editing the custom CSS file, adjusting the Bootstrap classes in index.blade as files needed. You can also explore additional Bootstrap components and utilities in the Bootstrap documentation. This is interesting. I have found that, let's see if this works, because I have found that links that ChatGPT gives can be completely fabricated and don't go anywhere. So let's see what this gives us.
Yeah, I'm actually impressed that the CGN links that it provided worked.
Yeah, good point. Good point. All right, so let's go back and let's add this. So yeah, this is going to be all messed up as well, right? So it got, again, so here's something that we've noticed, okay? Here's something that we've noticed. When it's generating code and we have to tell it to continue, it is, it's messing up, right? It's getting itself confused. So
Could the browser be choking on the HTML or CSS syntax?
I don't believe so. I think that it is, my gut tells me that it's not. So I think what I'm going to do is,
in this particular case, what you could do to get that full block is just because it's itemizing each step, you can say, can you repeat the code block for step 3?
Okay, let's try this. Can you repeat the code? Oh, this is something I want to try this as well. So with Max, if I double tap Control, it's an accessibility feature. I can just talk into it. Let's see if this worked. No, okay, never mind. Can you? I just want to be able to talk to it. The code block for step 3. Here's the code block for step 3. Customize the design further. All right. So we're going to create a new custom CSS in the public directory. So let's just do that now while it's generating. Public. Ooh. It said to put it in public CSS custom. All right. So, all right, public. I don't have a CSS, so let's make that. New CSS file. Really? Do I just not have style sheet? And this is going to be a CSS file called custom. All right. And then put that, it says in the head section. Just put at the end of this. And then we are going to copy this, put it in custom. All right. And let's see what it looks like now. That's not bad. That is not bad. All right. So that was great. Like we could take this even further if we wanted to, right? We could say, hey, let's add pagination to the previous messages. Let's style it a little bit further and whatnot. But this is I don't know, this might be like a good spot to just say, hey, that was ChatGPT. We could look at the 5.3 version and see how far we get. We could explore some more Copilot, or look at that Find AI search engine, or just mess around with ChatGPT. I'm completely open to what we want to work with tonight. I think that this was a really good example, though, of really what's capable, like what ChatGPT is, and this AI tool that we have available to us is capable of producing and doing. And I gotta so I said earlier that like what I pay for ChatGPT Plus has been worth it. And I honestly say, I mean, like, I was able to get this simple, yes, guestbook application put together in less than an hour. And I don't think I could do that by myself in an hour, especially the styling stuff. I would have to be referencing, the documentation for Bootstrap. I would have to be fumbling over my fingers because I'm not a very good, I don't have good accuracy with my typing skills and all those sorts of things. It's great.
One thing I tried recently, which is kind of good too, because it can integrate like real world things into the technical things.
Mhm.
So like I asked it to create a class to validate a Canadian postal code, for example,
Okay.
including making sure that the province matched the postal code.
Mhm.
Which, to do that yourself, you'd have to do a bit of research to figure that out.
Yeah. Here, I'll show you. That was the idea of regular expressions. People struggle with regular expressions a lot, right? Can you please explain this regular expression to me? Can any of those sorts of things. So let's do that. Let's say but okay, I got off on a tangent there just a moment ago. I was thinking about putting like a content filter on our guestbook messages, because like maybe we could have regular expressions for do those sorts of things. Adding a content filter might be really fun, and could be like another example of like, how is this thing going to handle this option? But let's just talk about regular expressions first. How about this? I'd like to collect the Canadian postal code of the visitors that are coming to my guestbook. I want to make sure they provide a valid postal code. How do I do that? Let's see if it gives us a regular. Let's just see what it comes up with. Collect a valid Canadian postal code from your visitors and validate it. You can add these following steps. Add a new input field for the postal code. This is going to be interesting if it's going to say, hey, add this column to the database if it includes like it as nullable because we have existing things. Let's see. Because it would need to be nullable to support other people's. But if it doesn't, we're going to get an error when we try to create the postal code, and it didn't. So let's see what happens. Maybe I'm just full of it as well.
Sorry, I
Are
phased out there.
strings nullable by default?
Oh, it is. It is. You're right. It is. Oh, you're right. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Okay. Oh, look, there's our regular expression. This validation rule checks if the provided postal code follows the Canadian postal code format using a regular expression. I'll ask it to explain the regular expression to me first as well. Oh, and there's errors as well. All right, so here we go. Let's add this to it. All right, so we're gonna put this postal code in our index. Let's just put it in here. Where are you from? And then we are going to change the fillable attribute on our guest. All right. And then we are going to update the database schema. So we're going to make a new migration. Oh. All right, so and now what we want to do is open the generated migration file. And then it says copy this as my up. Whoa, I'm all over the place. I apologize. Oh, okay. So wait a second. Let's back this up. So this is Copilot. So Copilot is suggesting that I create a function here called up. It's got context that this is a Laravel migration. And it says, okay, let's do that. So in order to accept this, I hit tab and it should suggest something else like void. So there we go. So this says schema table guests, function blueprint table, table string postal code nullable. So this is being a little explicit. I guess it likes being like that, which is really close to what ChatGPT suggested as well. So that was Copilot suggesting that. And so let's dig into that just a little bit. Okay. So Copilot said, hey, this guy is in a Laravel migrations file. I know that what he wants is to create the up part of the migration. Okay, cool. So it suggested make this up. And then it inferred from the name of the migration file, right? Because I don't have anything in here in the actual code saying I'm changing the guests table, I'm adding postal code to it, none of that. So it must have looked at the file that I'm in, which is add postal code to guests table, and said, okay, well, that's what this person wants to do. They want to create a postal code column on their guests table. It's going to be nullable. Maybe it got it from this. I don't know. So let's do the down. Let's just get rid of the down here and see what so public function down void. All right. Schema table guests, drop column postal code. Now I'm just going to format this because it looks like, there we go. And that's exactly what ChatGPT told us to do. Maybe they're, in cahoots with each other. I don't know. That's it. So that's Copilot. And Copilot is also been very helpful to me in my coding. It's been really good at inferring what it is that I want to do, and then just allowing me to just tab complete my way to a working application. Sorry. Oh, what a brave world we're living in now. Okay, here we go. Does Copilot remember the previous context you have been at? I think so. I have a question. Since you are using Copilot also, have you compared Copilot with Code Whisperer? No, I haven't yet, actually. I haven't used Code Whisperer. Though I have heard about it, but I haven't actually used it yet. I'm not sure. I mean, I'll definitely try it. That's one of the things that I think that we all need to be open to doing right now, where we are in terms of the in terms of this new, I don't want to call it era, but this new place we're in our history, where AI is becoming more prevalent and whatnot. I think we should all learn how to use these tools so that we can use them effectively and not allow them to just shoot past us. All right, let's keep moving. So we got to migrate. We got to migrate our code. Right, so that worked just well. And now we need to validate it. So in your guestbook controller file, update the validation rules in the store method to include the postal code. All right. So now we're going to go to our guestbook controller. This is our validation rules. And then this is our wicked regular expression, which I'm going to ask it to explain to us. The validation rule checks the provided postal code, follows the Canadian postal code format using regular expression. Display error messages, which is optional. To display validation error messages in your form, add the following code snippet below the opening form tag. All right. All right. If there's any errors, show it knows we're using Bootstrap still. And then for all of the errors, spit them out. So let's see what happens now when we go to our guestbook. Oh, I got to serve it. What do you think? Should we say, hey, I refreshed the page, but the site, what does it say? But I was unable to connect to the site. Same with ChatGPT, so forget it. So sometimes this happens. I don't know what this is about, but you just refresh the page and it comes back.
I think it's a timeout. Like I find that happen. Well, at least in 3.5, it happens all the time if you're not constantly interacting with it.
I refreshed the page, but was unable to connect to the site. All right. If you're unable to connect to the site after making the changes, it's possible that the development server is not running, or there's an issue with the code. How many times have you told people to do this? Are you sure it's running? All right, here we go. PHP artisan serve. Carefully review the changes you made in the previous step. Check for any typos or errors. All right. So you're right. Serve. All right. Now let's go back, refresh our page. And now we got a postal code in here. So let's say I am Clint, and I'm Clint at example.com, and hello from America. And Clint lives in Beverly Hills. All right, so let's submit that. The postal code field format is invalid. And we got this gross.
Cleared the form though.
It did clear the form. It did clear the form. All right. All right. The validation worked. Okay, wait. Let's have it explain. Let's have it explain the regular expression first. Can you explain the regular expression to me like I'm a child? Sorry. This is one of the things that this is one of the things that in the prompts, if you find sometimes that like the examples that it's giving you are at a level that you're not ready for, you can say, hey, you know, explain this to me like I'm a teenager, or like I'm this, or like I'm that, or something like that, and it will tailor the response to you. So, all right, here we go. All right, sure. A regular expression is like a secret code that helps us find specific patterns in text. In this case, we want to make sure that the postal code follows the rules for Canadian postal codes. The regular expression we used is this nasty regular expression. Let's break it down step by step. The caret, this symbol means start at the beginning. We want to make sure we're checking the whole postal code, so we start at the very beginning of the text. So this character class here of capital A to Z, lowercase a to Z, this part looks for a single letter, uppercase or lowercase. In the Canadian postal code, the first character must be a letter. This digit, character, like I don't forget if it's not a character class, whatever it is, this digit. This symbol means find a digit. So I'll stop adding my own commentary and we'll just read it. A number from 0 to 9. In a Canadian postal code, the second character must be a number. A to Z, A to Z, just like before, this part looks for a single letter. In a Canadian postal code, the third character must be a letter. All right, here we go. Space, hyphen, and then question mark. This part checks for an optional space or hyphen. In some Canadian postal codes, there might be a space or a hyphen between the third and fourth characters. The question mark means that it's optional, so it's okay if there's no space or hyphen. /D, just like before, this part looks for a digit. A to Z, again, this part looks for a single letter. /D, this one last time, this part looks for a digit. And the dollar symbol means end. We want to make sure we're checking the whole postal code, so we stop at the very end of the text. So this regular expression is like a secret code that helps us make sure the postal code follows the rules for the Canadian postal code. Letter, number, optional space or hyphen, number, letter, number. Don't you wish this existed forever? Right?
Exactly.
So let's say, okay, validation works, but the form input, like the inputs in the form content disappeared. All right. Validation works, but when the page comes back with the errors, comes with the error, the values that I had put in the form are gone. I'd like them to still be there. All right. To keep the form values after a validation error, you can use the old function provided by Laravel. The old function retrieves the old input value for a given field from the previous request. Update your input fields in the index.blade.php file like this. So it's giving us all of the things that we need here for these. So let's copy these. Let's copy all of this and let's just dump them in. Now when the form is submitted and there's a validation error, the values that the user entered will still be present in the form fields. This makes it easier for users to correct their input without having to re-enter everything. All right, so I'm just going to pop these up here at the beginning. And then we're going to take them. So this is our name field. Oops. Did Command D instead of Command X. And then I don't know how to get the whole line. And then we're going to pop this out. And then we're going to grab the comment. Oops. I grabbed the whole line, sorry. Comment. I think that's, gotta be careful. And then the whole line. I'm just going to get rid of the whole line here and then put another one in. All right. So now let's see what we got. I'm going to refresh the page. And I'm going to say Clint again is from America. Clint at example.com. Hello from America. And then 90210. There we go. The postal code field is field format is invalid. Oh, you're right. I actually live at the North Pole. H-O-H. Oops. O-H-O. Ho, ho, ho. Oh, hoo. Undefined variable validated. All right. Validated data. All right. It's going to figure this out. Once I submit the form, I get this error. Seems like I made an error in my previous response. The variable should be validated data instead of validated. In your guestbook controller, find the line that creates the new guestbook entry and replace validated with validated data. Okay, so that's what we were supposed to do. Let's see what Copilot suggests we do. Yeah, so Copilot said, hey, now that could be because the line existed there before. I don't know. But like, this is the sort of stuff that you're going to see with Copilot. It's going to be really good at saying this is probably what you want. All right, so now let's refresh the page. And there we go. So now we got hello from America. Clint. I'm gonna stop the share now. And so I want to thank everybody for coming. Officially at the end of the GPUG. I hope that you got a taste of what it's like to program using ChatGPT and got a hunger to explore a little bit more yourselves. All right.